I'm Lydia, and welcome to Chiaroscuro. So, last video I did a cold read on this really nice on this really nice Northern Renaissance painting, and I said this, cue clip. So if this is a Northern Renaissance painting, which it looks like it, I am so stupid. Yes, it is Northern Italian Renaissance. I keep saying that. It is Northern Renaissance. And not only is it Northern Renaissance, it is one of the most famous Northern Renaissance painters, namely Pieter Bruegel the Elder. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I didn't recognize it. He has a very distinctive style, and I've even seen one of his paintings in person. Not this one, but a different one. Anyway, it was a lot of fun to research this, and really weird connections, especially when you start going into like things inspired by these paintings, because there apparently have been 3 or 4 different poems written about this. So it obviously made a huge impact. Now, interestingly, it only really appeared in 1912, so before that it was a completely unknown piece of art. Don't really know where it came from. It is today, and it is in the Royal Museum of Fine Art in Belgium, which is in Brussels. So it's in Brussels, and it was purchased by them from an English art dealer. I was unable to find out where that art dealer got it. Not that it isn't known, I just couldn't find it out in the time that I have. So if you know, let me know, because I think that's really interesting, looking at the provenance, that is the history of who owned paintings and who did what to them after they were completed, is also always very interesting and sometimes quite scandalous as well. So that's fun. It is about 28-29 by 44 inches, which is about the size of a normal poster board, so it's not a huge painting. Most of his paintings are bigger than that. But Bruegel himself, Bruegel lived from about 1525 or 1530, not entirely sure when he was born, to 1569. So he had a very short life. He was somewhere between 35 and 40, or 38 and 40, math, difficult. Anyway, he was quite young, but he still had an enormous body of work and French. A huge body of work. Dozens of paintings, hundreds of prints, possibly hundreds of prints. And he's well known for many different styles of art. Or not styles of art, but different kinds of art that he produced. Anything, not only the prints and paintings, he worked in oil and in tempera, and then he did engravings and sketches and other types of intaglio printing. And then the types of images he would do, you have the sort of peasant scenes. He did a lot of these peasant scenes. If you think of the peasant wedding, that's one of his, picture here. He did a lot of grotesques as well. He was very inspired by Hieronymus Bosch and Bosch's portrayals of hell, essentially. So Bruegel did a whole series of what he called the virtues and vices prints, where he printed these allegories or demonstrating what all the 7 deadly sins were, and then the 7 corresponding virtues. And then they were just packed with characters that, when talking about the sins, were grotesque and twisted and doing the weirdest things. I'm not going to say Google it, because it creeped me out when I was looking at those pictures, but if you're interested. Anyway, one of the other things that he is known for is, really, really known for, is the Wimmerbild, which is translated as a teeming or busy picture. So think Where's Waldo, except in Northern Renaissance style. Tons of figures doing lots of different things, and it can frequently be difficult to figure out what the point of these pictures are until you see like 1 or 2 key characters frequently, and they're like, oh my gosh, it all makes sense. he also did a lot of landscapes, although most of the time his landscapes were prints. But he did things like I think they're called the hare hunters? The rabbit hunters? Picture. So he did mixes of landscapes and like genre scenes and everyday life scenes. So lots and lots of different kinds of paintings. This painting is unique among Bruegel's paintings because it is the only mythological painting he did, and it is a mythological painting. Really easy to overlook. I noticed the bare legs, but I didn't make the connection in my mind. So this painting is in fact called Landscape with the Fall of Icarus. Icarus? Icarus? I'm gonna go with Icarus. So those bare legs in the water, yeah, that's Icarus. So many art historians have agreed that this painting is inspired by the retelling of the Fall of Icarus that is in Ovid. So I'm going to read you a few excerpts from Ovid. Not that Ovid was the only person who retold these myths, but it was one of the more famous ones, and a few key details match up with the painting. Okay, here we go. Right page. So first I'm going to start with a description of just Icarus and the making of these wings. So I guess a little backstory. The story is that Icarus and his father Daedalus are trying to escape this island where they're being held prisoner. Daedalus is a famous inventor of mythological Greece. Supposedly he created the labyrinth where the Minotaur was kept a prisoner. And that was actually why he was then kept captive by the king of Minos on Crete, so that he wouldn't give the secrets of the labyrinth away. Anyway, so he's trying to escape by making a pair of wings with real feathers and wax. And this is how Ovid describes it. And Icarus, his son, stood by and watched him, not knowing he was dealing with his downfall. Stood by and watched, and raised his shiny face to let a feather, light as down, fall in it. Or stuck his thumb into the yellow wax, fooling around the way boys will, always, whenever a father tries to get some work done. Still, it was done at last, and the father hovered, poised in the moving air, and taught his son, I warn you, Icarus, fly a middle course. Don't go too low, or water will weigh the wings down. Don't go too high, or the sun's fire will burn them. Keep to the middle way. And one more thing. No fancy steering by star or constellation. Follow my lead. And then they took to the air. The father looks back to see the sun's wings moving. Far off, far down, some fishermen are watching as the rod dips and trembles over the water. Some shepherd rests his weight on his crook. Some plowman at the handles of the plowshare. And all look up in absolute amazement at the airborne above. They must be gods. And the boy thought, this is wonderful, and left his father, soared higher and higher, drawn to the vast heaven, nearer the sun, and the wax that held the wings melted in that fierce heat, and the bare arms beat up and down in the air, and, lacking oarage, took hold of nothing. Father, he cried, and father, until the blue sea hushed him, the dark water the men called the Icarian now, and Daedalus, father no more, called, Icarus, where are you? Where are you, Icarus? Tell me where to find you. And saw the wings on the waves, and cursed his talents, and buried the body in a tomb. Those ancients had a way with words. That image of being swallowed by the blue ocean. Of course, in this painting, or this reproduction of the painting at least, the ocean looks more green than blue, and that's probably what Bruegel himself was more familiar with. But you still have this vibrant color that is connected with ideas of life. Blue is the heavens, and then the green of this image then is the land and security and life, and yet here it is, taking a life rather than giving it. So in the story in the Ovid, he mentions a fisherman which we saw on the shore. He mentions the shepherd, and he mentions the plowman, and they're all looking up, supposedly, at Daedalus and Icarus in wonder, thinking they must be gods, because only gods can fly. But in the painting, they're not looking. They've turned away, they don't see, or they ignore, and they don't see the tragic ending of this young boy who flew too close to the sun. And what's more, in the painting, not only do the do the people not see, we also easily lose sight of the drama that's happening. It is that fall and Icarus plunging into the sea is so easily lost with all of the things that are going on. And this isn't even a Vimmer build. That's not a terribly busy image, but it takes a few minutes before you say, oh my goodness, there's a pair of legs in the ocean, and they're doing something, and it's not clear. So this image of men turning away, of not seeing, even though it should be really clear. I mean, they're right on the bank of this bay, and that ship isn't that far away. It should be able to see this boy and hear his cries, but they don't. So, along those lines, I'm going to read you one of the poems that was inspired by this, if I can find it again. There we go. So it's called the Musée des Beaux-Arts, which is the name of the museum where this painting is kept, and it's by W.H. Auden. So Auden writes, about suffering, they were never wrong, the old masters. How well they understood its human position, how it takes place, while someone else is eating or opening a window or just walking dully along. How, when the aged are reverently, passionately waiting for the miraculous birth, there always must be children who do not specially want it to happen. Skating on a pond at the edge of the wood, they never forget that even the dreadful martyrdom must run its course. Anyhow, in a corner, some untidy spot where the dogs go on their doggy life, and the torturer's horse scratches its innocent behind on a tree. In Bruegel's Icarus, for instance, how everything turns away quite leisurely from the disaster. The plowman may have heard the splash, the forsaken cry, but for him it was not an important failure. The sun shone as it had to on the white legs disappearing into the green water, and the expensive, delicate ship that must have seen something amazing, a boy falling out of the sky, had somewhere to get to and sailed calmly on. And this is one of the things that Bruegel is really known for as well, is taking the almost broken nature of humanity and not mocking it necessarily, although sometimes he does, but just laying it out and demonstrating and showing that this is something that humanity struggles with. It is so easy for us to turn a blind eye to, when something terrible is happening to those around us, and maybe we don't even realize. Maybe to them they thought that Icarus could save himself, he could swim, and they just didn't pay attention. And it's not until we stop and think about that and notice that these people, they could see, they should see, and there's nothing stopping them, and yet they don't. How much of that is a choice? How much are they actually aware of? And how much are they just, through complacency, letting slip by them? Because the plowman is doing something good. He's working to produce food, till the earth and bring about life. The shepherd is taking care of his sheep as he should, but is that all he should be doing? I'm not sure if Bruegel ever really answered a lot of these questions or statements that he brings up in his paintings, but the fact that he is noticing them, I think, is really poignant, and that is part of the reason why his paintings are so enticing, is that you look at them, and the more you look at them, the more you notice, first of all, and then the more you think about how that applies to myself as well, or even to the world around me, or you see the patterns that human nature falls into. Anyway, so yes, I feel bad that I giggled at Porakaris in the last video. And tremendous fun researching this, but still, oh my goodness, so dark. So, not dark in a really like suffocating way, but heavy. It is a weighty subject. Anyway, those are my thoughts. If you had anything that you noticed in this painting and would like to share, please do comment below. I would love to hear what you have to think. Next week, I'm going to be doing another cold read on a random painting. I haven't decided what yet, so if you have any ideas or if you want me to do something specific, again, comment below. I'd love to hear it. Always looking for new ideas. And have a lovely week, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Sorry, back again. One other quick note. We're not entirely sure about the attribution of this painting, so it might be Pieter Bruegel the Elder, but it is actually thought to be more likely to be a follower of his, possibly even his son, although the original composition, the design of the painting was probably Bruegel. But if he actually painted it or if he started it and someone else finished it, we're not sure. There has been many tests done on it, and I will put a few links down below in the description, so if you'd like to learn more about the scientific things that they've done with this painting and the discussion going on about whether it is a Bruegel or if it's just one of the followers of Bruegel, you'll have some resources. I thought it was super interesting, but this is already going to be a long video, so there's a few other resources if you would like. Bye!